Paul Hendricks Sr. began harvesting oysters as a boy. It's a Mashpee Wampanoag tradition that continues on the waters off the Cape, where both his son and grandson make their living raising oysters. But as the climate changes, the challenges of oyster farming are changing too, as Corey Hendricks recently told me.
Historically, the water did not get that hot here. Now it's getting very hot, so you'll see big die-offs of wild clams. So as a farmer, it definitely worries me, the climate change.
The Hendricks are also up against a changing industry. In Barnstable, where Corey's oyster farm is, and in some other communities on the Cape, there's been a hot debate recently over shellfish regulations. Unlike other fisheries, shellfishing is regulated locally by the town. In Barnstable and Wellfleet, new shellfishing licenses can only be given to individual people who live in the town. And there are strict limits on how many acres a person can farm. Both towns recently saw proposals that would allow the names of companies on shellfish licenses rather than just people. The idea was shot down recently in Wellfleet, and in Barnstable, an advisory committee is set to vote on it tonight. Some in the industry say that change would just make doing business easier. Others see it as an existential threat to small farmers. Joining us now with different perspectives on the issue are Al Supernaut, founder and president of Cape Cod Oyster Company, one of the largest oyster growers in New England, and Brett Tolley, from the National Program Coordinator of the North American Marine Alliance. Thank you both for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Al, let's start with you. Your company manages oyster farms that are licensed to a number of individual people, but you manage them all sort of together, right? And you actually made the proposal in Barnstable for company names to be allowed on those licenses, right? Why is that a good idea?
Well, first of all the licenses, when I first started in the business, 1982, every license in the town of Barnstable was in a corporate name. So really what's happened is that the town, the two major companies in the town, Cotuit Oyster Company and Cape Cod Oyster Company, who Cotuit Oyster has been in business maybe 150 years, corporation business. Me, 40 years. Most of our acreage is in corporate name. So it's kind of like I'm not sure why the division of the DNR, which is the town shellfish bureau. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why they want to change that.
Well, currently, though, new licenses can't go to company names, right? And your proposal would actually allow that to happen again, right?
Yeah. In other words, right now, you cannot, there's a little gray area because recently someone put a license in a LLC, which to me is the same as a company, mm-hmm. No different. But I'm not an attorney, so I can't really answer that question. But what we're trying to do is make it so that the family business, and there's quite a few of them in the town of Barnstable. The family businesses people are aging out. They're getting to be older, and they can't do the work, and they've got a kid involved that's coming up through the business. But unfortunately, you've got the grandparents own the leases, the mother and father own the leases, the grandkid owns the lease, and then so what happens when these people pass on?
And having it in the company name, you think would allow them, it'd be easier to pass on. And I know also, by the way, that you're proposing increasing the size limit for farms from currently it's 2 acres, 2 different parcels of 2 acres to 14. Yeah. Brett, I want to come to you. What is your feeling about the impact that those proposals could have on the local shell fishery?
Impacts can be significant when we're talking about increasing the amount that any one corporation or individual can control. We've seen levels of consolidation in other fisheries around the state and around the country take on dramatic impacts when you allow the control to be removed from that community. There's dramatic economic impacts where we see money and jobs leaving the community. We see environmental impact where there's less accountability. And then the social impact, right? I agree with Al that thinking about the next generation of farmers is critical, right? And asking ourselves the question, how will these regulations or considerations impact the next generation? I also think that the core value that we've seen is this idea of tying fisheries access as close as possible to the community results in the best economic, social, and environmental outcomes for the public good.
Okay, Al, I've heard the concern, and Brett mentioned this, that increasing the size of the farms and putting in a company name means that it won't be passed down to somebody else, that a company could hold it in perpetuity. And I know there's a long list for people who are trying to get shellfish farms. How do you respond to the concerns about consolidation and how it might actually squeeze out smaller farmers?
Well, there's two companies in the town of Barnstable that have been around I've been around for 40 years, and Kitua's been around for 150 years. And, we were in the business before there was a business. So there's more local people, there's more small farms in business today. And I think part of it is because of what we've done. In other words, we've made a successful business. And there are maybe 10 other farmers in the town right now that are in the same position that I'm in, where they have multiple family members that have acres, 2-acre parcels. So they have maybe 10 acres altogether. And so what happens when mom and dad pass away?
But they can still be passed
the
down,
son,
right? Those licenses can be handed to the next generation, can't they?
No, because you have a limit of 2 acres.
Okay, because the children
if you have 10 acres,
yeah,
and your parents pass away, now you don't have 10 acres anymore. You get 6.
Okay.
So it's really what you're doing is blowing up small family businesses, and all of these businesses are very, very small. My business is tiny. They're just not big businesses. They can't be.
Hey, Brett, I wanted to ask you about another reason for putting the company names on there that I've heard from some farmers that they feel like putting an LLC on there rather than their own personal name might provide them some more liability protection. How do you respond to that? That it might actually make it easier for the farmers not to get sued if, they're selling a raw seafood product. Do you think that there's anything to that?
Oh, sure. I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense that I get small businesses, family-owned businesses outside of the fisheries or within the fisheries need that kind of protection. That makes sense. I think you can do both. I think you can have both a corporate LLC for those liability reasons while also having the name of an individual or town resident also attached to the permit name, where the long-term vision is to ensure that access remain in the hands of town residents. I think the risk of only going with an LLC name is that you go down the path of allowing outside companies to come in and control what is a town public resource. And I want to emphasize that public resource aspect. I understand, Al's point, folks worked really hard and built a local economy where there was none before, but this is not taking place on a private property, right? This is the ocean. This is our intertidal zones. This belongs to the people and the residents of Barnstable. And we need to make sure that the way this all moves forward is done transparently, openly, and determined by the people, not by the folks who are currently benefiting the most.
Okay, we'll see what happens in tonight's vote. Al Supernaut and Brett Tolley, thank you both so much for coming on to talk about this with us.
Thank you, Craig.